Okay, so let's talk a little bit about IRisk. IRisk has been around since 2014. You've been managing director since 2018. What exactly does IRisk do?
Okay, we are an insurance brokerage risk management firm. So, although we're registered since 2014, we actually started operations in 2017, and then I assumed my position in 2018. What we do was we act as an intermediary between insurance companies and then clients, and these clients are either individual clients or companies.
Hello everybody, you're welcome to Just for Women Africa, and my name is Olaleko Amusa, the founder of Just for Women Africa. And before we start our show, we'd like to give thanks to our host, Tia Coffee House. They're located off the Pachilumba Road here in Accra, Ghana. Nice, serene environment. We'd like to have breakfast, lunch, dinner. Tia Coffee House is the place to be. I do recommend it. And today we're going to be talking insurance. We have the MD of IRisk Management Limited, which is also an insurance broker here in Ghana, and we have the managing director here with us, Sheila Wristberg. Yeah, welcome to the show, Sheila.
Thank you, Lekan.
All right, Sheila. I'm curious, how does a chartered accountant end up being an insurance broker? Can you explain to us?
Okay, I wasn't expecting you to go straight there, but yes. So I am a chartered accountant. I used to work with Waterhouse in Ghana, and it sounds like a very big transition, but it actually wasn't, because prior to joining IRisk fully as the managing director, I used to be on the board. So I was a non-executive board member for about 8 months, and so I knew the company already. And at that time it was a startup, so it had just been operating for maybe 3 months before I joined the board. So we were looking for a new managing director, and that process took forever. And at that time too, I'd stayed with PwC for close to 5 years, and I was looking for new opportunities. So I think those two linked at the same time, and I thought, why don't I take up the role? And so far, it's been a good transition. I've enjoyed it, and one thing that being an accountant with an audit background does is that it makes you have this professional skepticism. So the way you approach things, you have a very business-like approach towards things. And I think that for the startup, that was necessary, because it helped me to streamline things very fast, because I came from a place where there were lots of systems, there was lots of automation. You don't have to think too much. You have to, so I basically was able to replicate that in a different way though, but then, and so I think that made our startup journey way easier.
Okay, that's quite interesting. All right, so how does it feel actually being a managing director of one of the insurance brokers firms here in Ghana? There are very few females who are managing directors here in Ghana of an insurance firm. How does that make you feel?
Okay, so it's a privilege and an opportunity that I don't take lightly, because first of all, the insurance industry is male dominated, especially at the top. At the bottom, there are lots of females, but as you get closer to management, to senior management, it sort of tapers off. And when it comes to insurance brokers specifically, there's also something, most of the leadership of brokerage firms are older male. So it's, for me, I see it as the opportunity to represent an underrepresented group within the industry, and then it helps me to always know that when you're doing something, it's not just about you, it's about females, it's about young leaders.
Okay.
So how you carry yourself, how you carry people along, that's what, and if you're successful, it's not just people know that, oh, then we can now give the chance to someone else like you. And I think it's something that I've done quite well prior to joining I've been the MD for 4 years now. In 2021, my firm was the number 5th out of over 100 brokerage firms in Ghana in terms of revenue. Thank you. And that makes you see that you're actually building something, because we moved from not even being in the top 20 to around number 16, and every year your prospects are getting better. And I think it helps because you mentor other people see it and see you doing it, and they know that they can also do it. I have lots of young people come to me telling me that, oh, I really like what you're doing, I want to. I'm like, sure, take my number, let's talk. And then it also helps the older people to see that they can hand over the reins of their company to younger people. They can give them the chance to take up leadership roles, and once the person is determined, it will work out. So.
Yeah, I do agree with you on that. But what do you think can be done to get more females into the insurance business here in Ghana? Because, like you stated, I mean, women are understated in insurance business, especially in the management position. What do you think can be done to get women into that field?
Okay, so at the entry level, there's a fair balance between females and male, but I think it's not even just an insurance problem. It's probably a global issue, but it's more pronounced in certain industries, and it just happens that insurance happens to be one of those industries. Even in the UK market, where we have the Lloyd's market in insurance, you notice that when it comes to their top management, they don't have a lot of female Lloyd's brokers. So one thing that I think that we can do, it's a two-way thing. There's what the women can do, and then what everyone else can do as well by being allies. And we have to open, so I'll start with what everyone else can do.
Okay.
We have to be more open and just try out people, even if they haven't done something before. One thing I know is that most of the time when women take up roles, because they know that the pressure is a lot, they tend to give it their very best. For me, the doors that have been opened for me have been by, I have a lot of male mentors who have opened doors for me, because even my company's board believing in me to make me the MD was a big step, and it was men who made that decision.
Yeah.
So I believe that men should be allies, and they should, if they see a female who is trying to give of her best, they should be supportive. Okay. Another thing that I think can be done is for women ourselves, sometimes we underestimate our abilities. So a lot of women, if they're not 100% sure about something, or even 105% sure about something, they don't try it. So case in point, when I was working in PwC, I noticed that the guys were more willing to try things like training, to try writing certain reports, being part of more technical things, but the women would sometimes take roles that don't scale. So for instance, if it comes to organizing a Christmas party or something about food, then they are there. But then that's not something that would scale into a promotion for you.
I agree.
But if it's something like maybe they're having a training and you volunteer to do the slides, that could give you the opportunity to be the one training next time.
Exactly.
And that could turn into an opportunity for you, because all of a sudden people notice that you can speak publicly, you have technical skills because you prepare the slides. So we should be very intentional about the extra roles that we take up at work, and we should also be very intentional about our careers. For instance, in my firm, I encourage people to always take up professional courses, and sometimes you notice that the females, you have to push them a bit more because they have other responsibilities, mostly domestic responsibilities. So while the men can normally stay late, work till 9, work till 10, which I don't even think is a healthy thing, women sometimes have to go home earlier because maybe they have kids to take care of, they have to prepare meals. So until we don't make domestic roles just for women, it will be difficult for them to get to a certain level, because at the entry level we have almost an equal number, but as you go higher, the women taper off because sometimes they are going for maternity leave. So even if they enter a career with males, you find out that maybe she's gone for maternity leave maybe for three times, 4 times. That means that maybe for 4 years they don't get a promotion. Sometimes even when they come back, they don't get a promotion the next year because it's assumed that she closes early. So there are lots of assumptions that we make about women in the workplace that don't help us, that don't help the women to rise fast in their career.
Okay.
And it's not a simple let's do this, let's do that, because there are cultural factors, there are even sometimes religious factors, there's so many factors. But for me, I'd say that let's try to, as if you're a woman, you have to work a little bit harder than the man would. It's not fair, but it's just how the world works right now. So do put in the work and then pay it forward by also supporting someone behind you so they have an easier time than you did. And maybe, just maybe together we can try to bridge the gap.
Well said. Well said. Okay, I was going to ask, my next question will be about IRisk, but before then, I want to ask a question. Women get harassed in the workplace, not just in Ghana, but globally. And you as a leader of an insurance company here in Ghana, what can companies actually do to protect women to ensure that they don't get harassed? And when they do get sexually harassed, it is reported and it's handled properly.
So, I think first of all, every company should have policies against sexual harassment, and not just the overt form, but in any form at all. And those policies must be clearly known to everyone within the organization, because it's not enough that you have it in a handbook that no one ever reads, but everyone should know about it. There should be several trainings about it, and there should be an open door policy, because sometimes even the people who are put in charge of being the gatekeepers when it comes to escalating sexual harassment cases, they are intimidating on their own. So the victims don't even feel safe enough to report. So in my company, for instance, I continually stress on it, and I tell everyone that, you know what, sexual harassment, we don't condone it, whether it's from a client or it's from someone within the firm. If you have a problem, come directly to me and we will solve it. So we've had cases where clients in a subtle way try to make women uncomfortable just because we are a service-based company.
Exactly.
And we have both our clients are both companies and individuals, and sometimes you notice that when the client has a big portfolio, they try to intimidate some of the female staff by, sometimes it's very subtle, but then it's there. So for me, I tell my staff that if you feel uncomfortable with a certain client, then there's a reason why you're feeling uncomfortable. The person might not have said anything, but maybe it's the way they look at you, maybe it's the way they try to touch you, they are being inappropriate, there are lots of things. So I try to let them see that all those things, once you're uncomfortable, report it and we'll swap and put someone else there. If the person, it's now that we're getting the person's business, sometimes depending on what the severity of the case, we just let it go, because we let a male deal with it. But if the person, it's not worth anyone's mental health to be working in an environment where you feel pressured to allow certain things to happen to you just because you need to bring in business. So I think that on a wider level, if we are all more intentional. But the thing is that most of the time, the people in charge are the people who are also perpetuating the same thing. And sexual harassment, it's not even just for women. Sometimes too, males also experience it. And once you are in a lower position, someone who is higher than you can always try to use it to assert their dominance and authority over you. And it's up to the system and the companies to have very stringent measures to even identify what sexual harassment is, because sometimes we have a very close view and it's as if it's only maybe rape that's sexual harassment.
Yeah.
But even the way the words that people use sometimes can be considered inappropriate. When I was in PwC, for instance, we used to have a lot of sessions, and then we once had a session, they called it the elephant in the room.
Okay.
And after that session, a lot of the men came out and said, wow, I did not know that even standing too close to a woman could make her feel uncomfortable. So culturally, there are a lot of things that we've learned that we can unlearn. But until we are more open-minded and we address those issues, we will never make headway.
Okay. I really appreciate the fact that IRisk has policies in place for sexual harassment, which is really, really good, because a lot of companies don't have to actually ignore it. So I think it's really good at this. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about IRisk. IRisk has been around since 2014. You've been managing director since 2018. What exactly does IRisk do?
Okay, we are an insurance brokerage risk management firm. So although we're registered since 2014, we actually started operations in 2017, and then I assumed my position in 2018. What we do is we act as an intermediary between insurance companies and then clients, and these clients are either individual clients or companies. So the broker's work is to help the clients get the best policy at the best rates, which will cover their risk. And then the broker is also responsible for helping the clients in case of any claims, and also to help them even generally manage their risk. So for instance, we are Thea Coffee House right now. If as a broker I come in, I have to first of all see what kind of policies do they currently have, if any, and if they do, are those policies adequate enough? So we go through the policy. If they already have policies, we look at the policy wording and see, okay, have they, if in case there's maybe a fire, will it cover third parties who are here in case something happens? What will even be the amount of cover? And once the risk is determined, and then we can now move on to how much is this person willing to pay for the risk. So in that case, you go into negotiations with different insurance companies. You see which insurance companies has the best policy, because there are certain insurance companies, for instance, who are very good at maybe life insurance. Someone might be very good at bonds. Someone might be very good at maybe cyber risk. So it's not every insurance company, although all of them write almost the same risk in this country, it's not every company that might be in the best position to write a certain. Some of them, even maybe an insurance company might prefer doing a lot of maybe business in a certain industry, like maybe oil and gas. Someone might prefer to do construction. Someone might do hospitality. And the more they do these, they write these risks, the more they even know that should something happen, this and this and this is how we can mitigate the risk. Or even before the risk happens, they can advise that don't do this, don't do that, so that we don't even have huge losses. So all those are the things that a broker does. And IRisk currently, our approach is more of because we just entered the space about 5 years ago, and there were already existing companies. We had to come with a more boutique approach where we focus more on advisory services. So for us, it's not just about selling insurance to you, it's about advising you, it's about doing a lot of risk management. We do a lot of audits for our clients. So when we come in and you already have policies, we don't just continue with the policies. We are like, let's audit that policy. Do they have certain clauses in it that might be detrimental to you when you are claiming, or should we endorse certain things so that we enhance the policy, so that in case you are claiming, you get more value for money? So that's something that we do at IRisk.
Okay, that's really quite interesting to know. All right, so what's your opinion about insurance policies in Ghana? Is insurance really good business in Ghana or in Africa per se?
That's a very heavy question. And okay, so my opinion is that insurance has the potential very huge potential in Africa, because in Africa we have so many risks, and I think that and we don't really have the luxury of too much funds, so we have to protect the little that we have, and that's why insurance is important in Africa. Unfortunately, I believe that most of the policies that we have historically been more pushed, so more from the side of the insurer. That they've not been too customer centric. Right now, more insurance companies are trying to tailor make policies that suit our climate, but I think historically a lot of the policies were focused on the bigger companies and multinationals, so very little was done in the retail space where individuals like you and I could get policies that, or even little was done for even SMEs. So you would find out that if a company is like $1 million company would get could get certain policies, but then those policies are not well suited for a company of maybe 5 people, because maybe if 5 people want a certain policy, sometimes you are told that your risk is not, they can't cover it at all because they don't have enough people to pull that risk. So it's now, I think that a lot is being done in this space, and but what I think we need to do more is to get ahead of the curve. Right now, we have a lot of emerging risks that are not really being covered by insurance companies in Africa adequately. For instance, we have cyber risk. Cyber risk is very rampant in Africa, but we don't even talk about it. But then we are having people's money getting stolen from telcos. We have small companies having their social media hijacked. There's a lot going on in that space that if companies would be innovative and really study it, they could cover it. There's also a lot climate change risks that barely get covered, and mostly, for instance, IRisk insurance is not very popular in Africa, but now we are having floods all over. It's not even just a local Ghanaian thing, all over. We are having a lot of fires, and we are having droughts in some parts of East Africa, and it's because the climate is changing. But it's very few farmers who have even know about having insurance cover, and very few of them even qualify to be covered. So a lot can be done, but I would say that a lot has been done already. The insurance space, there's still room for improvement. Insurance penetration in Africa is still hovering below 5%. In Ghana, it's less than 3%. We don't count health insurance, so I think if we add health insurance, it will be a bit higher. But then if less than 3% of the population is taking up insurance, that's very disturbing. So it's something that we have to look at as an industry and even as a country. And I hope that as time goes on and as younger people get more involved in the leadership of these companies, they would also bring in measures that would make insurance accessible to everyone. There's technology now, and hopefully we can use technology to make insurance accessible in the future.
I like that. I mean, insurance hovering around 3%, I think that's really, really low. I've not really heard about IRisk insurance and cyber insurance, which I think it's, we usually just hear about the car insurance and life insurance, we don't hear about the other type of insurance. Okay, which we'll look at you. Okay, so we're about to round up the interview. You've been MD since 2018. What have you learned so far on the job as a leader?
That's very interesting. I've learned a lot. So before I became MD, I did not have any technical insurance knowledge. Although I'd been on the board, I was more of the financial person on the board. So when I joined insurance, I had to hit the ground running, because now you are heading meetings and you have to know your policies, you have to know how to identify your client's risk. You have to. So the first thing I learned on the job was the technical insurance terrain. I had to go take some courses at the Ghana Insurance Institute to learn a lot about insurance. But another thing was the people side of things, the management side of things, because if you're an MD, you're not just managing your staff, you're managing other stakeholders, you're managing your clients, you're even trying to make sure that you have a good relationship with the regulators. And insurance is a very highly regulated industry. And then even other players in the industry, like the insurance companies, other brokers. So it was a big learning curve, but a very rewarding one. The key lesson I would say is that I learned that whatever you put your mind to as an individual and whatever you put your mind to as a team is achievable once you put in the work. Because when we entered the industry, to be honest, we were underdogs because there were probably over 70 companies already. And personally, I was also an underdog because I was young, I was female. I think I was 27, yeah, and I was probably the youngest CEO in the industry then. Now I don't know, maybe I still am, I don't know. But I was female and I was not originally an insurer. And you are sitting in meetings with people who are sometimes 60 plus, they've been in the industry for 50 years, they know everything there is to know about insurance. But once you put your mind to it that we also have a vision and we have a game plan, and you stick to it. So for me, my plan was be innovative and do things differently, because you can't compete with those who are already there. But building a niche and then sticking to it and then building credibility as well, because at the end of the day, it's all about value for the clients. That's the only way you get business. So it was a lot of closed doors, but being resilient, because you have to have tough skin to survive in any industry. I don't think it's even an insurance thing. You just have to have tough skin, and you don't have to take things personal, because the fact that someone is saying they won't give you business today doesn't mean that's the same story. That's going to be the same story 2 years later. There are some clients I've chased for 3 years, and one day you get a call and they tell you, "Oh, come and pick up a letter," and you are surprised. But you have to be in the face of your clients all the time, like sending them messages on Mondays. Sometimes there are some clients that I always check up on. Like every month, I make sure I just, hello, just checking up on you. I hope you're doing well. I'm not even going to talk about business. And then one day they become your client. So there are some prospective clients that you do that for a year, you do that for 6 months, sometimes it takes 2 years. But one day they become your client. So it's, I think I've learned to believe in myself. I've learned to be resilient. I've learned to always not take no for an answer. Like, just keep going and things work out.
Yeah, I like that. Do not take no for an answer. Definitely. Never say take no for an answer. I noticed on your profile you're a biker girl. You ride bikes, motorbikes.
Yeah.
What was the thrill in that? What gives that adrenaline when you get onto the bike?
To be honest, there's nothing like riding at 160 plus. Like, it's an amazing feeling. Oh, I hope no law enforcement person. It's when you're riding at that speed, it's as if all your worries go away. In that moment, you're one with your bike. It's like you and the bike are one, and you just have to experience it to understand. But then I love biking. I took it up 2 years ago. I haven't regretted it one bit. Once in a while, you hear about an accident and you're like, okay, and you get a bit jittery. But yeah. I think that for me, that was what I found helps me to cope with the pressure of so many things. So biking is my go-to place, and we can all find it in different ways, but mine was biking. And when I'm on my bike, I'm actually happiest when I'm on my bike. Yeah,
I can see the smile and love in your face already. It's not talking about bike. I can see the smile and love in your face already.
In that moment, it's as if
your face is glowing already when I mentioned bike.
Oh, I wasn't like that when you were talking about work. I love my work. But yeah, in that moment, it's as if you can do anything. It's like you're a superwoman. And yeah.
Okay, that's nice to know. That's nice to know. That's nice to know. All right, we'll just play a little game. I'll ask like 1 or 2 questions before we go.
Oh,
All right, so you get to
okay.
choose one. Okay. Heels or flats?
Heels, definitely heels. I love heels.
Heels.
I love heels. People see me and they're like, I didn't know you were that short. I'm like, hey, don't talk about my height. I love heels.
Okay. Usher or Chris Brown?
I think Asha, because Chris Brown considered Rihanna thing.
Oh, that was long ago. I apologized so many times.
Yeah, but Asha is actually like, he takes off his shirt like.
Oh my God. Morgan Freeman or what's it? Denzel Washington?
Wow, that's a tough one. Can I do both? For different reasons. Morgan Freeman because he reminds me of God. I don't know, because since Bruce Almighty, every time I think of him, I think that's how God probably is. And he has a show on Netflix on something about it's a religion.
Yes, yeah. National Geographic, yeah. Watch that. Yeah.
I like him because of that, but Denzel is such an amazing person. I love his movies, his demeanor. He's that man who makes black look good.
Okay.
So for this one, it's like asking me to choose between my granddad and my dad. Like, they're both amazing.
They're both amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, red wine or white wine?
I don't drink much, but I'd say red. Yeah.
Red.
Yeah.
All right, Sheila, thanks a lot for coming on the show. It's been lovely having you. We wish you all the best at IRisk as the managing director, and we look forward to having an interview with you again someday.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Until the next show, keep watching Just for Women Africa. Give it a like, leave a subscribe, tell a friend who knows a friend about Just for Women Africa. And to the next show from Sheila and I, it will be bye.
Bye.